All right, we're live, day 299. Today we got a seller finance deal, 4214 Foxborough Drive, Newport Richey, Florida, 34653. Purchase price $323,000. Start punching these numbers. All right, 323,000. This is a seller finance deal, so that means the seller has decided to become the bank and finance the entire transaction. Sometimes this is probably in a case where the seller owns the entire property, except for a little piece of the down payment. So there's $20,000 cash for seller and $10,000 assignment fee. So put that right into this spreadsheet right here, $20,000 and $10,000 assignment fee right in E21. Okay. All right, let's keep going down. Your total seller payment. So let's see, what's the finance amount on the spreadsheet? Let's see. What did it disclose? The total payment is $1,500. The seller's carrying $293,000. I'm gonna come over here to sell two K6 293, 4% interest. This is gonna start on 7/31/29. This is a 5-year balloon. And the disclosed PITI amount is gonna be right here. It's listed as 1970, which includes the HOA. So we don't need to double count that again later. Now, because I know that the total number is 1970, well, what happened to this? Let's see. Oh, whoops. There we go. Oops, messed up my start date. Here we go. I make today's date so it doesn't confuse it, even though it's a balloon. Okay. So now that I got my 1970, so this is how I back into figure out what my escrow amount is and what my insurance amount is, because sometimes you don't need to break it down exactly. So 1970, so I'm going to equals 1970, and I'm going to subtract the principal portion of the seller finance deal. And I'll subtract the interest portion of the payment. So that leaves me with $571.17. And that's what I'm going to assume is my property tax number and my insurance number in this totality, because I don't really care about how much of the payment is principal, how much payment of interest, because it moves every single month. The whole point of this exercise right now is for you to figure out whether or not it's worth your time to investigate the deal further. Meaning, do you want to send boots out on the ground to get photos? Do you want to get a contractor out there to give you a bid? These are all the type of questions that you want to ask yourself. But more importantly, you don't want to waste the goodwill that you have with your contractor to go out there and give you a bid, because if you just tell them you're an out-of-state investor, they're probably going to take advantage of you. And if you keep telling good contractors to go out there and walk a property and you never hire them for a job, they're going to start stopping every call. So be wary of that. Now, this property is in Newport Richey, Florida. Is this in a flood zone? Let's take a quick look. It's not in a flood zone. So for Florida, insurance has been going up every single month. So I'm going to add another $50 per month, just be conservative for my monthly insurance payment. Because typically insurance companies view a investment property to be a little bit more risky than a primary residence property. And I'm assuming someone's living there as a primary residence right now. Just an assumption. That doesn't mean I'm right. But the whole point of this exercise, again, is to figure out whether or not this deal is worth your time. Okay. I got 10% for maintenance. So you got to set aside money aside every single month, because guess what? Your roof is going to get replaced at some point. Your water heater is going to get replaced at some point. Your HVAC is going to get replaced. Something always breaks eventually. So you don't want to be the person that thinks you're making an extra $200 a month after 10 years and realize you got a $20,000 roof replacement and you realize you made no money for the last 5 or 10 years. So don't be that person. I got $0 for HOA because my HOA is already included in my monthly payment that we talked about earlier. I got 10% for property management and I got 5% for vacancy, just because someone always typically moves out. Okay. All right. So now for this property, let's just take a general condition of this property. This property looks relatively turnkey. This is a weird paint job. So I'll probably just paint about, I'll set aside maybe $3 a square foot to paint about half the home. So this home is 1378 square feet. So I'm going to come over here to the rehab calculator. I'm going to come up here to the paint section. I'm going to do equals 1378 divided by 2. So the total square footage divided by half, using $3 a square foot for the paint job, gives me roughly around $2,000. I got $5 for landscaping, just to kind of keep the place clean while I get it rent ready. I got $1,500 for the roof, just to set it that aside, just in case there's any patching or anything that needs to happen. And besides for that, I'm going to replace the toilets with high pressure flush toilets. That's just what I have in my Airbnbs. The whole reason behind that is that I don't want to get any clogged toilet calls. So I'm just going to get high pressure flush toilets. So this gives me a total of about $5,960, so $6,000 rehab for this property. So not that bad. Next thing I need to do is get my rents. Okay. For my Section 8 rent, what I need to do is I need to Google HUD FMR. FMR stands for fair market rents. And I'm going to click on the first link right here. When you click on the first link, you can scroll down here and click on access to small area FMRs. After you do that, you click on look up FY 2024 FMRs. Then you click on Florida. And then you got to figure out what county this is in. And you can do that just by looking up the word county on the Redfin website. And you see that this is in Pasco County. So when you go to Pasco County, you're going to get by bedroom, by zip code, what the rent ceiling is. Okay. Zip code is 34653, 34653. And you're going to see that the rent ceiling for a two-bedroom is 1550. So let's write that one down, 1550. And I don't care about the rents for a three-bed because this is a really, really small unit. So I'll write down the two-bed and the three-bed at 1980. 34653. 34653. Boom. Three-bed. And now after I get my rent ceiling, I have to get my market rent and compare the two. So to get my market rent, I just go to affordablehousing.com. I go to the owner section. I go to the market rent estimator. I'm going to plug in my address. Oops. And the number I care most about is this property right, this number right here on the bottom right. It says that within a 0.44 mile radius, the average rent for a two-bedroom is 1504, which kind of coincides nicely with the rent ceiling. So I'm going to use the lower of the two. Okay. I'm going to use 1500 for my rent. And that's within a 0.44 mile radius, which is relatively small radius for 14 units. I'm going to write down the rest of these numbers. And the reason I'm writing down the rest of these numbers is because my partners already know how to analyze deals pretty well. So when I put down these numbers, they already know if they're doing their own diligence, what they need to look out for. So now that I got all these details in, I'm also gonna get the market rent for a three-bed. Just I want to see how big the jump might be. What's about $500? And the reason you want to take a look at this is because if there is a easy conversion, right, in your property that can go from a two-bed to a three-bed, let's say there's a basement with easy egress that doesn't cost a lot of money. That could be a way, or maybe you have a really, really big room or a office that you can add a closet into and make it a legal bedroom. That's another way for you to creatively create additional rents because Section 8 typically pays for the number of bedrooms, not the number of bathrooms, etc. So something for you to be mindful of, 0.58. But for this exercise, I'm only going to underwrite this deal as a two-bedroom. Now, when you compare 1550 to 1504, you might ask, hey, why are you using the low of the two? And that's because of the rent reasonableness test. Okay. When you look up the Housing Choice Voucher Program Guidebook, this is what I have up here on the screen. The HCV, Housing Choice Voucher, this was formerly known as Section 8. They rebranded from Section 8 to Housing Choice Voucher because of all the negative connotations that used to be associated with Section 8. So in this line, you can see in Section 2.2, it says that in conducting rent reasonableness, the PHA, or the Public Housing Authority, must determine whether the rent to the owner is a reasonable rent in comparison to rent for other comparable unassisted units. So this means that you can't charge more rent to someone simply because they are a Section 8 voucher holder, right? For the obvious reasons. Obviously, the size, unit type matters. So if you compare an apartment to a single family home, that's not apples to apples. But for the purpose of today, let's assume that the market rent that I found in affordablehousing.com is the right one. And because of the rent reasonableness test, you have to use the lower of the two because the market rent is lower than the ceiling rent. All right. So if you use 1500 as the rent for this property, after plugging in all the details here, right? What is the purchase price? 323,000. After plugging all these details, this deal will cash flow a whopping negative $895 a month. So that was assuming you rent it out for 1500. That's a negative 895 after all your expenses. So we don't even care about the cash on cash return because we know it's negative. And for me, this deal is not worth my time to investigate further. But it does not mean you can't use another exit strategy, right? It doesn't mean that you can't find a homestead buyer and someone that actually wants to live in home, and that's the deal for them. But for me, right, my passion is affordable housing, Section 8. And for me and my exit strategy, this is important for me to figure out whether or not this is worth my time. And because of the negative cash flow deal, I'm not going to spend any more time on it. And so this is the whole point. This is why we do the deal exercise every single day so that we can do the reps. And obviously, this is not investment advice, not soliciting any investments on this call. Simply just showing you guys the work that I'm doing every single day. Right. So here's my goal. My hope is that you copy my homework today. Right. You can analyze the same deal I analyzed today using the same spreadsheet. If you guys want to copy the spreadsheet, you guys can go to affordablehousing.io. Once you get to affordablehousing.io, just click on the Get Deal Analysis tool right here. Plug in your name, your email, your phone, and that's the fastest way for me to get the spreadsheet over to you. I did not create the spreadsheet from scratch. I got it from a few other folks. I combined it, I tweaked it, I modified it so that I can analyze deals a lot faster. But it's up to you to use it. And my hope is that you copy my homework, you put it on your own YouTube channel. Figure out one thing that I explain and explain it better than I did, because that's how we make each other better. And after you copy my homework, you can copy one every single day. You copy all of them all at once. But then all of a sudden, your YouTube channel is going to have 298 days of analysis. And you're going to feel really good about yourself, because when a deal comes across your table and slaps you across the face, how are you going to know it's a deal? Or if a partner asks you, hey, why do you think this is a deal? You can go tell them, hey, I know this is a deal because I've been analyzing deals for the past 299 days, and these were all not deals until I saw this one. Might you think your partner might have a little confidence in you after you show them all the consistent work that you've been putting in? I certainly hope so. All right. I hope everybody has an amazing Thursday. I hope you guys spend some quality time with your family and friends today, because that's what life is all about. All right. I'll see you guys back here again tomorrow for day 3